the time has come to review my number one favourite X-Men movie of all time.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Lucamus Prime here, so it's time for the next review in my review series for the film series being, of course, the X-Men movies. And this is going to be a very special occasion for these reviews because today is the day that I finally reviewed my all-time favourite X-Men movie ever. Out of the main films, spin-offs, everything, this for me is my number one favourite. This is a third instalment of a trilogy featuring my favourite member of the X-Men being Wolverine. And this film, of course, is none other than 2017's Logan. So, now, when it comes to how this film was made then, when it comes to making this film, the film was designed to look like the near future with slight updates to technology and the social environment, and taking place in the year 2029, which is literally 5 years away from now, goodness me. And this was also once again directed by a director I unfortunately lost respect for, which was James Mangold, who returns to direct from the Wolverine. And this film was also written with a dark and violent tone closer to a western genre as well, rather than the traditional superhero genre, because despite being a comic book movie, this film also has elements of drama in it as well as the superhero stuff, because it features, X-Men, of course, being Wolverine and also Charles Xavier. Filming began in Louisiana on May 2nd, 2016, and wrapped on August 16, 2016 in New Mexico. The locations used for this film were mainly in Louisiana, New Mexico, and Mississippi, and the film was also given a false title of Juarez to low visibility during production as well. The film then premiered at the 67th Berlin International Film Festival on February 17, 2017, and was then theatrically released in the United States on March 3rd, 2017, and the film received universal acclaim with praise for its emotional depth, screenplay, action sequences, uncompromising tone, thematic profundity, and performances of Hugh Jackman, Daphne Keane, and Sir Patrick Stewart. It became the best reviewed film in the franchise, with many critics calling it one of the greatest superhero films ever made, and it was selected by the National Board of Review as one of the top 10 films of the year. It was even nominated as well for Best Adapted Screenplay at the 90th Academy Awards too, and it became the first live-action superhero film to be nominated for screenwriting at the Oscars, and it grossed $619.2 million worldwide, and became the third highest grossing R-rated film at the time of its release. When it comes to my reaction to this film then, so one weekend in 2017, I went to go see this film at the cinema, and I've got to say that just like the critics, I absolutely love this film. I love every single second of this movie, and I would definitely regard it as my number one all-time favourite X-Men movie ever. And I've rewatched it many times, and I of course have it here as a Blu-ray steelbook. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. To me, it's the best X-Men movie, and it's also to me one of the best superhero films ever made, in my opinion. And if I was to have respect for James Mangold, I would have also said it's his best movie too as well. So, now what is this film about then? So, this film of course takes inspiration from the Old Man Logan comic storyline written by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven, and it follows an aged Wolverine who is of course living in exile with Charles Xavier, who is unfortunately very ill. And he must defend a young mutant named Laura from a group known as the Reavers, led by a cyborg soldier called Donald Pierce, and also Dr. Xander Rice, who is of course in charge of the company Transigen, which of course spawned of course from William Stryker's old forces as well. And this, of course, was set up in Wolverine's scene in X-Men Apocalypse, where he, of course, kills several staff members in that scene. So, now when it comes, of course, to what I think is great about this film then, so I would definitely say the number one highlight of this movie for me is most definitely the performances from the whole cast. Because I think this film has an absolutely phenomenal cast who give amazing performances. So, Hugh Jackman, of course, reprises as well as Wolverine. And as always, he delivers a phenomenal performance as the character. I'd probably say it's, to me, his best performance as the character, in my opinion. And you can definitely tell because this was a film he trained the most hard for, such as of course, lots of exercise in the day. And also, as well, on purposefully dehydrating himself, of course, to lose his weight for his shirtless scenes. Which was definitely a very dangerous thing to do, of course. But it shows you how dedicated he was to playing the role. And this one definitely shows it. And I think his performance in this film was absolutely phenomenal. To me, it's Hugh Jackman's best performance of all time in his career. And we also got to see Wolverine in his berserker glory at last as well, which I definitely really loved, because this film was actually rated 15 for me at the cinema, which I really appreciated, because Wolverine is not supposed to be a character for kids, so I really appreciate how this film did not hold back on the blood and gore, because this film is full of it, and I really appreciated that. I feel like it was something missing in his previous experiences in the franchise, so I really appreciate how this film did not hold back and included lots of blood and gore. And this film was just definitely really awesome because of that, and I definitely really admire Hugh Jackman's dedication to the role. And I also, as well, definitely really love the return of Sir Patrick Stewart in this as Charles Xavier. And I must say as well that, in my opinion, it's probably one of the most heartbreaking performances I've ever seen from Sir Patrick Stewart, because he portrays Xavier as being really ill, and he's unfortunately, of course, losing his memory due to his powers, and it was definitely really sad to see, and I felt really sorry for him. You know, the way, of course, he portrayed him reminded me a lot of actors who play characters who've got dementia, and I don't think Sir Patrick Stewart really pulled it off and gave a very heartbreaking performance in this film. Definitely really sad to see. But he still gave an absolutely brilliant performance as Xavier, like he always has done. And I also admire his dedication to the role, because he actually lost lots of weight. And what I also, as well, definitely I thought was very impressive was also how Hugh Jackman actually carried him in the scenes as well. Because it wasn't like, you know, like a mannequin or anything like that. He actually carried Patrick Stewart in the scenes, because he lost so much weight. He was actually very light to carry. So I definitely really admire Patrick Stewart's dedication to playing Xavier in this film. And introduced in this film is also Daphne Keane as the character Laura, who of course goes by the codename of X-23. And I definitely really loved her as Laura in this film. It's definitely, for me, her best role I've seen her in. And I think it was actually a role that introduced her to a big screen as well. And in a film debut. And I think in this film, her performance was definitely really amazing. And she was definitely, in my opinion, an absolute badass character. And considering that she has no dialogue until towards the end of the film as well, that just, you know, shows how great performance Daphne Keane is, because despite her character not saying anything apart from screams and roars, she gives an absolutely amazing performance in the first half of the film. And she's an absolute badass, such as, of course, the scene when she first reveals her powers and she takes down the transgen soldiers in the mill. Like, wow, that was definitely, in my opinion, really awesome. And yeah, Daphne Keane was definitely an amazing, welcoming addition to the X-Men franchise as Laura in this film. And I must also say that Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Daphne Keane had really amazing chemistry in this. It kind of felt like three family members on a road trip together or something like that, really, because their chemistry was just so amazing and really great to watch. Because despite this film being really dark, it still has its fair share of light-hearted moments. So just for example, of course, Xavier interacting with Laura, showing her the movie Shane, for example, in their hotel room, was definitely really cool to see. And apparently Patrick Stewart actually improvised his lines when he's talking about Shane, which was really cool. And I might probably watch that film one day in the future. Also introduced in this film when it comes to villains is also Boyd Holbrook as the villain Donald Pierce, who of course is the leader of Transigen. And I definitely really think he did a brilliant job playing Donald Pierce in this. It's definitely a favorite role of his. I think he's an underrated good actor in my opinion. And I thought he was really cool how he had a metal hand, and I thought he was definitely a really good villain. He was relentless, calculating, and really intense, I must say, as well. And it's also ironic that he's, of course, being the enemy of Logan, because he's actually a fan of the X-Men, which I thought was pretty cool. So I thought that definitely made, of course, him being an enemy more and more personal, because he's actually a fan of the characters. And also introduced as well when it comes to villains is also Richard E. Grant as Dr. Xander Rice, who is the head of Transigen. And he, of course, is connected to X-Men Apocalypse because his father was killed by Logan in his escape from Weapon X facility in X-Men Apocalypse. And so I liked his connection to Logan for that reason too. And Richard E. Grant is a great actor. And I think he did a great job playing in Dr. Rice in this. As definitely, of course, a very calculating scientist villain. He kind of reminded me a bit of Hugo Strange from DC a little bit because of what he does when it comes to, of course, for children. Definitely reminded him of that for that reason, really. Definitely, in my opinion, did a brilliant job playing Xander Rice in this. Also introduced in this film as well is also one of my favourite comedians of all time in this. As, of course, the mutant Caliban, who is, of course, an albino mutant who can sense and track other mutants, and he helps Logan take care of Xavier. I think Stephen Merchant did a brilliant job playing Caliban. It's probably my favourite live-action role of his. And considering he's a comedian in real life, I think he pulled off the drama really well in this movie. Did a really brilliant job playing Caliban. he was definitely, in my opinion, lots of fun to watch, and he did a brilliant job pulling off a dramatic side to his career, in my opinion. Definitely did a brilliant job. And I also, as well, definitely really loved, as well, Elizabeth Rodriguez in her brief role in this as Gabriella, who is taking care of Laura at the start before she's unfortunately killed off. I thought that she did a very good job playing Gabriella, and I also, as well, definitely love the addition as well of Eric LaSalle and Elise Neal as Will and Catherine Munson, who, of course, are the two parents who take in, of course, Logan, Charles, and Laura on their road trip. And they were definitely, in my opinion, a really nice family. And it reminded me a lot of the old couple who took in Logan at X-Men Wolverine. Although, in my opinion, this film handled, of course, a family taking in an X-Men member much better than that film, in my opinion. That's what I'll say. And also, as well, aside from a great cast of actors, I definitely really love this film's action. I've already mentioned this film, of course, was rated 15, and it did not hold back on the blood and gore, because this film is absolutely full of it, and I was definitely there for it, because that's what I'm supposed to expect from a Wolverine film, absolutely. So I really appreciate how this film did not hold back, and there's lots of it in this film. The fight scenes, in my opinion, are absolutely awesome, and just definitely brilliant, in my opinion. And I also, as well, definitely really love the musical score in this, composed by Marco Beltrami, great composer. And I love how the song in this reflected heartbreak and darkness. And I think the composing was done so well for that reason. And the film also has really great visual effects too, as well, in my opinion, which are definitely really great to watch, and really amazing CGI as well, I might add. For example, in some scenes, Hugh Jackman, of course, was replaced by stunt double in some scenes, like, for example, the car chases. I wouldn't have been able to tell when I first saw it because it goes on really quickly, and the CGI was definitely brilliant in the car chases. And also, as well, when it comes to CGI, when it comes to other villains introduced in this, they also introduce a soulless clone of Logan called X-24, who is based on his younger self in his prime. And Hugh Jackman played him in the scenes where you can see his face clearly, but in the scenes where he's fighting Logan, it was actually stunt double playing X-24 with Hugh Jackman's face CGI'd on, and Jackman dubbing in the lines afterwards. But I think they did it really well, in my opinion. You know, it actually felt like it was two Hugh Jackmans fighting, and I think it was brilliant. And they did that really well, in my opinion. And it was definitely lots of fun to see. And it was also proof that Logan's greatest enemy is himself as well. I think that definitely shows it. Especially as well because X-24 is the character who ends up killing Logan in the film's ending, of course. And also, as well, when it comes to other great things in this film, I think it really executes, of course, darkness really well, in my opinion, and how to do a dark ending to a franchise as well, because there's lots of tragedy that unfolds in this, such as, for example, that Logan and Xavier are in exile with Caliban, because no mutants have been born in 25 years due to, of course, crops affecting, of course, the genes in 2029. And of course, Logan is suffering because his healing ability is failing now, and he's now just working as a taxi driver, and he's looking after Xavier, who's really ill. And also, as well, of course, it's also, you know, that poor Xavier is also responsible, of course, for having a telepathic seizure which killed 600 people, and also several members of the X-Men as well, the year prior. And it's never confirmed which X-Men died in the attack, but they just mentioned that at least 10 of them died, but no other X-Men appeared in the movie, although some of them did, of course, express interest in appearing, like, for example, Sir Ian McKellen wanted to come back as Magneto, but Magneto doesn't appear in this film, and we don't know what happened to him, just like with the other X-Men as well. And I think that this film pulled off the feel of darkness and the feel of exile really well, in my opinion. And I also, as well, love how this film was also, as well, good enough to actually break the fourth wall, because we get to see X-Men comics in this, which is definitely really cool to see. So it's as if, of course, they're acknowledging the X-Men themselves, but they have fans, and I think that was definitely really touching for them, how they actually have fans who care about them. And that was definitely really great, and as a fan of the X-Men, I was very happy to see that in the movie. And when it comes as well to soundtracks in this, I also love the addition as well of many classic songs. For example, in the first trailer for the film, I love the addition of Hurt by Johnny Cash. Absolutely great song by the legend Johnny Cash, may he rest in peace. And in the second trailer, the song Way Down We Go by Calliope, an amazing song. And also, as well, in the credits, we also get to hear, as well, The Man Comes Round by Johnny Cash, another great song. When it comes to the film's ending, I would definitely say the ending is absolutely emotional, because Logan ensures that the children are able to escape across the border. And But unfortunately, he does get mortally wounded by X-24, who throws him onto a tree branch, which impales him. But Laura is able to use Wolverine's adamantium bullet to shoot X-24 and kill him. So that's the end of X-24. And it was also foreshadowed that'll be the case because Logan has wanted to commit suicide with the adamantium bullet. So I guess you could say that Laura literally did kill Logan virtually, but just as a clone of him, really. And then Laura, of course, then sees to Logan, and he's dying, but he encourages her not to be what they made her to be, and to keep going. And one part which definitely really broke me when I saw it at the cinema was how she called him Daddy. And then his last words are, "So this is what it feels like." And he smiles, which actually he only smiles 3 times in this film, which further helps, of course, with the elements of depression, because Logan actually only smiles 3 times in this film. And so I definitely think they execute the ending really well. And then sadly, Logan dies. And his last words were talking about how it feels to die, and also about how it feels to be a father, because Laura is actually his daughter when it comes, of course, to her genetics. And then, of course, Laura buries Logan, and then she marks, of course, an X symbol using the sticks on his grave, and that, of course, symbolised him being the last of the X-Men, which was definitely, in my opinion, a very emotional ending, and it brought me to tears when I saw it at the cinema, and it still does to this day. It's just a very emotional scene. And I think as well, when it comes to Xavier, his demise was also very heartbreaking as well. And what's also sad is he never got to properly say goodbye to Logan either, because when, of course, X-24 breaches the Munson's house and finds Xavier thinks that he's talking to Logan, and he talks to X-24 about how he remembers, of course, the attack on Westchester. And then before, of course, we find out who, of course, died in the attack, Xavier says he finally understands Logan, but then unfortunately, it's not Logan, it's X-24. And then X-24 unfortunately stabs Xavier. And sadly, Xavier dies from the blood loss, which is definitely a very heartbreaking scene, in my opinion. Definitely, in my opinion, a way better executed death scene for Xavier compared to The Last Stand, in my opinion. It was definitely really sad to see. But for what it is worth, I think they executed his death really well. Same with Logan as well, in my opinion. And I will say as well that Xander Rice and Donald Pierce both had very satisfying ends as well, in my opinion too, which is definitely really great to watch, such as the children, of course, killing Pierce, and also Logan shooting Rice was very satisfying as well. But long story short, to me, this is the best X-Men movie ever. I love every second of this movie, and I virtually have no problem whatsoever with this movie at all. I have no bad qualities with Logan. I just love this film so much. To me, the best X-Men movie will never ever be topped, in my opinion. So if I was to give this movie a score out of 10, well, to this day, because it's my favorite franchise, I most definitely would give it a full-blown 10 out of 10. If I'd give it higher than 10, of course I would, but to be specific for this review, I'd give it a full-blown 10 out of 10, because I love every second of this movie. To me, the best X-Men movie ever. In my opinion, and this is how you handle a dark ending, and just how you do it perfectly, in my opinion. Like, this film is just absolutely phenomenal from start to finish. If you guys haven't seen it, please do, because it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, guys, this is me doing my review for 2017's Logan. To me, the best movie of that year, which is ironic considering there's lots of films in that year that I do hate. But this film was definitely an exception because it's my favourite movie from that year. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to talk in the comments what you guys think of Logan if you've seen it, leave in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Prime Press and subscribe videos to come in future. And I'll see you all later.